Hi, welcome to InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles. In today's episodes, we'll have some clips from my Profit Signals webinar. The idea is simple. When firms look at the current economy, they usually see pressure changes all over. AI pressure, energy, war, regulatory pressure, talent pressure, housing, supply chain. They only see threats everywhere, changes everywhere. And well, the problem is all of that is real. But the question behind this episode is this: what if those pressures are more than just risks? What if they represent more than, okay, they do represent risks, all right. But what if they also represent signals? Signals of new demand, signals of new inefficiencies, new partnerships, new markers, signals of where someone, if not you, will move next. So in this episode, you'll hear the core argument of the webinar, which is firms that move first, they learn first. And the firms that learn first, they capture the opportunity first. They get there first. So let's begin. But before we go into the webinar clips, just a quick note. This episode is connected to the first mover advantage work I'm developing for companies, founders, institutions, project leaders. The goal is not to predict the future. My crystal ball is not working for some time now. The goal is to choose one opportunity, test it in 90 days, and learn before your competitors do. Yeah, you'll find the relevant links in the show notes. So let's go into the webinar.
Now, the reality of nowadays is quite consistent with what you have written. Most firms feel a little bit squeezed because they are not facing one change, one shock, one threat. They're facing many at the same time. That's why we talk about polycrisis nowadays. You have everything changing in AI and automation and AI agents. And then you have wars, and in the morning the price of oil goes down, but in the afternoon goes up again and keeps changing. And that puts a lot of uncertainty in all the supply chains. Then you have regulations kind of growing like marshmallows everywhere because people are afraid of what's coming and need to put up some limits or try to devise some limits to things. All of that has a huge impact on demand, on energy, on fuel prices. And then you also have frequent tariffs and trade wars, as you know, in the past 2 years. That hasn't changed. The change hasn't changed. It keeps changing, and you're never sure exactly what the tariffs are. You have skills shortage in large parts of the Western world, and you have one of the reasons for that shortage in growingly is the housing, the shortage of housing, the price of housing that leaves a lot of people out of the work markets they would like to be in. And of course, all of this has a lot of pressure in your cash flow. So you've answered before which pressure is most urgent for you right now. In the middle of all this, the big mistake is not seeing risk because it exists. Risk exists among all these changes, all these pressures. Risk exists, of course. The real mistake is stopping, is freezing, because the same pressures, the same changes that creates uncertainty, they will also reveal new demand. They will also create new efficiencies in some sectors, and they will open new partnerships or new possibilities for stronger positioning. So there's a threat and there's an opportunity at the same time. So the whole idea of this workshop is to go from fear, which is very much reasonable and needed, but we have to move past fear and stop missing opportunities. Um, we cannot wait for certainty. We cannot wait for things to slow down because it's not likely that things will slow down. All these changes bring really new business opportunities. New people need new things. The AI disruption, for instance, brings new service layers. People need help with AI, so there's a business opportunity. All this energy volatility that we are watching brings a huge demand for efficiency. We need to use energy much better than we used to do. And the same goes with the trade friction. We need new partnerships. We need to reroute supply chains. The same thing with the security pressure. We need resilience in the markets, and the same thing with the housing pressure. So one more thing we need to worry about is that these pressures, these changes in multiple directions coming from different sources, they are actually not isolated. They are mostly connected. AI and energy and wars and tariffs, wars are very much connected with energy and with the AI nowadays. So these are all symptoms of deeper economic shifts. That's my point here. And I've organized these shifts in nowadays economies into these five transitions. We have a digital transition. We've been hearing about it. Politicians have been telling us about it for a long time, about 15 years now, I think. The same for the green transition in the European Union. As you know, they talk a lot about the twin transitions. They have these two transitions going on, but we are also transitioning to a new globalization. I mean, all these trade wars and all these new deals, new trade system, they're not putting an end to globalization. They're just forcing changes to the globalization and to the organization of supply chains. We also have a transition to a war economy, whether we like it or not. Mostly we don't like it, of course, because nothing good ever comes from war. But the fact is that there's no change, there's no choice. We are actually transitioning to a war economy, producing much more defense-related items and investing a lot more in defense research. And well, that's the way the world is going. Nothing we can do about it. And also, finally, we have this fifth transition. We have deep dived into a housing crisis in many parts of the world, the major cities, the places where people are building new startups and new technologies and creating new wealth, they don't have where to live. There's deep reasons for these other transitions. We can talk about that in another day, but it's affecting a lot of the world. And if countries want to progress, they will have to find a solution. They will have to get out of this housing crisis. So there's this other transition going on. Some of you talk about opportunity to improve productivity, reduce costs. Yeah, all this AI talk is very much, has been so far, very much about reducing costs, right? Improving productivity means having each person produce a lot more work, and this would reduce costs only if you fire people. So all the talk about AI has been very much about productivity. I'm not sure it's producing that output yet, but all the commercial talk is about it. And then strategic partnerships. Yeah, yeah. If you wait, the best partnerships will be gone. Absolutely. So let me invite you to the next question, and please rank this easier, faster, because there are only five. Now I'll organize those shifts into these deeper five transitions. Um, in your view, which of these are more likely to create new demand, and which of these are less likely to create new demand? In a business sense, in a strategic business sense, that's really the most important. Where are consumers going to spend their money? So let me see what you're saying. The digital followed by the green. Okay. I'm not sure I agree, but that's a little bit speculation. I believe the uh, transition that is going to create more new demand is in euros, in absolute value, is the housing. Right? There's so much need to build new houses, particularly in the large cities, and that's going to be really huge amounts of money. But okay, that's my view based on this framework of the five transitions I just showed you. We collected a lot of data to build this index, AWTY, over 150,000 observations. That's a lot of data covering years from 1990 to 2024 for all countries in the world. And let me say that I started this because I was a little bit sick of hearing politicians and the European Commission talking about transitions and never saying how are things going. Are we getting there? Are we close? How much green are we today than before? And I always thought, okay, they don't measure that because it's very hard to measure. It's very and it isn't. And that my conclusion after trying to do this last year was it was actually easy because there's public information about a lot of the major indicators that are used in this index. Each of those five transitions is measured using several indicators, and there is public information. Published by credible sources like the OECD, the IMF, that will allow us to measure how we're doing, how each country is progressing more or less faster or slower in each of these transitions. So if politicians are not telling us how we're doing, how is the European Union doing in this transition and the other, it's because they're stupid, because they could actually be saying good things, as you can see in the data. There's really progress being made, but they don't talk about it, and I fail to understand why. We built this index with multiple indicators, as I said, so each one of the five transitions index is built based on these different indicators. And for each one of them, we gather data from respectable sources. All of this is published, is public, so you can check it in the Substack. I think you have the link, but I'll provide it later. And as you can see, in the green transition score, The EU is way ahead of everyone else. In the digital transition score, the EU is even actually ahead of North America because they may have all the major platforms there, all the unicorns, but the coverage of simple things like cell phone internet coverage is not as good in many parts of the country. Um, so this could be used by politicians to sell their work, but they don't do it for some reason. If you look at the new globalization, you can see the result of this of all this activity that the Commission has been having with new trade agreements. All of that reflects in how the Europe is progressing way ahead of the others. Then, if you look at the world economy readiness, you can see that we have globally mankind has progressed towards more readiness or more of a war economy from 1990 to 2024. But only a few countries are really in a high level of readiness there. Um, I also brought this example of my own country with a very short snapshot, just as an example of what can be seen for each country. And we can see that the green strength is really the major where we shine the best. We've been moving fast in building renewables. In AI, in digital, not so much. And in resilience, so-so. My conclusion from the data, 2024 data, was a little bit optimistic for the country. But the idea is to look at this data and always wonder for each country where are new opportunities for revenue, where are new opportunities for cost reduction, uh, and how can we take advantage of these opportunities in a short cycle. The idea of the 90-day test is one I think it's very important nowadays in the answer to all these uh, changes, all these polycrises. We have to move faster than before. So the idea is to use this logic for different countries, different markets, and to make comparisons using this data. As I said, you can access it in the newsletter in Substack. And if I make this comparison, still working with the example of my own country, comparing to the EU benchmark, uh, I can see where we are behind and ahead, and that tells a lot. That tells a lot of what I can use, where I can expect markets to grow, where I can expect new business opportunities, um, where we are lagging behind, and where I can expect different kinds of opportunities where we are ahead. So as I was saying, the answer to this uncertainty world we live in is not paralysis. It's got to be a fast, uh, low risk uh, test. That doesn't it remind you of something you've heard about in the past decade or 15 years? We've been learning about lean strategy. It's very similar, right? So this analysis we perform today is all about analyzing the signals, analyzing the pressures, analyzing the priorities, and coming to ideas and coming to directions. But That's not enough. You gotta move, and you gotta move first. To do that, you need to build a roadmap to know where you're going to, uh, and act on that priority. Because firms that move first, they actually learn first. The firms that learn first, they always end up capturing the opportunities first. The cost of hesitation is higher in these days. So, how can or what can your firm test before competitors, before markets, before the crisis eventually force a decision? The idea is the second part of this program, which is next typical acceleration program. Um, Using as I was mentioning, the not so new principles of the Lean philosophy. So it's a 90-day acceleration cohort. It's an acceleration in group for companies of all kinds, firms or organizations of different kinds. In the first 2 weeks, we have 2 live sessions. You get from there data, roadmap, and an MVP, and then you go and accelerate this. And it's nothing new. It's the usual acceleration program where you build MVPs, you build prototypes, you test, you learn, and you decide in short cycles. And that's the main idea here is the short cycle. So we are not trying to predict the future. No, it's not easy nowadays. My crystal ball is clearly not working very brightly nowadays. But we have to fight freezing. We have to move in short intelligence cycles, and that's the main idea. In 90 days, you choose, you validate. After your first choices, as you somehow had a glimpse today, you have to find data. That's where we help. Find data that will validate that idea, then build prototypes, MVPs, whatever, depending on the type of business. Test, refine, grow, and build a business model that you can test in a real client. That's the idea of the whole 90 days. You need to find product market fit. You need to find a problem that exists and a solution that solves it. You need to find the growth fit. How can you scale it profitably? And you need to find a business model that supports all of this. So the first part of the acceleration program, the first 2 weeks are the ones we use planning, basically getting the data, validating and elaborating the plans. And the next, the following days, the following weeks are used implementing, creating, and that's your work, obviously. But we keep our support to the end through Slack or WhatsApp or whatever channel we choose. Always, and then there's one point important, which I found important in the previous experiences, is the idea of doing this in group because this creates accountability. And in a problem like this, it is an important input. It is an important factor. So we try to sell this idea that the answer to polycrisis is not paralysis. You heard me say this before very often, is to work in short cycles. We decide, we test, we learn, and we adjust. And we do that because we have that experience. We've been doing acceleration programs in different EU programs for projects for some time in different sectors, different countries. We've done this in the blue economy sector for a project called 4LX Plus, or we did this for the tourism sector in a project called START. And we try to use this tool I showed you today, the AWTY index, as an advantage to separate the noise from the structure of what's really changing in the society. So that's basically the program. This
So that was the core idea of the Profit Signals webinar. And the strategic lesson is simple. Uncertainty is not a reason to delay strategy. It is a reason to shorten the strategy cycle. When the world was slower, firms could afford long planning cycles. Today, that is way more dangerous. AI changes workflows, energy prices move business models, wars reshape supply chains, every kind of wars, including tariff wars. The question is not, can we predict what's going to happen next? The question should be, what can we test before everyone else, before they are forced to react? That is the logic of the first mover advantage approach. Not big bets, not abstract foresight, not waiting for the perfect opportunity, the concrete opportunity. Just one idea, one short cycle test, and one 90-day learning window. Because in these economies, the firms that move first do not always win immediately, but they learn first. They can pivot. They can learn from it. And that may be the real advantage they get. Thank you for listening to InnovEU, the EU Project Chronicles. In this episode, I hope you could see that crisis signals can be much more than that. If you liked the episode, if you got some value from it, please subscribe, like, share, send it to someone working on innovation, EU project strategy, whatever. You can find the links to the first mover advantage work, the WTY material, and my transition science content in the show notes. And if you are working in new funded projects, transition strategy, innovation funding, business opportunities, connect with me on LinkedIn, because Europe's transitions are already shaping our future, and your project might be part of the story. See you next.